A few thousand of them high-paying corporate jobs at Amazon. Well, of course he should, immediately. The truth is, our ruling class supports our current immigration policy because for them, it's all upside. They're not standing in line in crowded emergency rooms or sending their kids to chaotic public schools or competing for jobs with people who will work for less than they will. For them, open borders mean cheaper labor and bountiful household help. And above all, the sense that unlike you, they're good people. They care. They're not bigots like those voters in Kentucky and Ohio. What our rulers need is a strong dose of reality, a sense of what their policies mean for everybody else. So let's give them that. You can send your ideas to us on Twitter. You can do that by sending your tweet to @TuckerCarlson. We're interested in what you think. In the meantime, we're joined tonight by Cesar Vargas. He's both an illegal immigrant and an attorney in New York. Mr. Vargas, thanks for coming on.
Tucker, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So it's a pretty simple calculation. Why not treat America like you really cared about it? Our policymakers treat it with maybe half the care that Harvard treats its school with and say, we're going to try and figure out which immigrants are going to be the most successful. It's not about race, but it is about the massive amount of data we have on how people do once they get here. And people who are more likely to succeed will get preference, and those who are less likely to succeed won't. What's wrong with that?
Well, two very important points. The first point is that the United States is not a company. The United States is not a school. It's a nation. Second point, we want to make sure that we scrutinize every person coming here into the country. We want to make sure that they don't have any terrorist background. We want to make sure they don't have a violent criminal record. No one disputes that. But let's get this point, very important, that the United Nations was created mainly in the Declaration of Independence because the king restricted immigration, because the King of England said, states, colonies, you can no longer bring people from other countries. And what happened? American Revolution, a beautiful idea of this nation came about.
So the American Revolution was spurred because King George was a restriction of immigration. Okay, that's a whole other show where I try to educate you. Okay. All right, okay. But let's just back up a little bit. You said that the two standards we need to apply are people aren't terrorists and they don't have a criminal record. Would you apply those standards in your own life to anything? I'm going to hire this person, I'll let him into my school, I'll marry this person, just as long as this person doesn't have a terror background or a criminal record. Shouldn't we aim a little bit higher than that if we really cared about the country?
Of course, we want to have standards. But at the same time, what made this great nation is what we see in the Statue of Liberty. Give me your poor, your huddled masses. And look, your ancestors came here when they were poor. Many ancestors of the founding fathers came here when they were poor. And now look at you, Tucker. You're a successful Fox News host.
You're kind of missing it. This is not. We're not in the 18th century now. And if you really care about the country, you think deeply about what's going to make it better and safer and more prosperous, happier, more cohesive. You don't adopt a faith-based approach that says there's an inscription on the bottom of a statue in New York Harbor, let's just roll with that and hope for the best. You don't do that. So why wouldn't you say, for example, I'll throw a stat out here, you tell me if you think it's relevant. So the Science Talent Search Competition tries to identify kids who are good at science, which is like a pretty good measure. It's tested students in America. 14 of the top 40 had Indian immigrant parents. So that would suggest, well, gee whiz, that and a lot of other markers suggest that the Indians do pretty well. Why don't encourage a lot more Indian immigration? Why would that be bad?
Well, we want to make sure that we attract the best, obviously, but we want to attract people who have a belief of what it means to be American. Someone who believes that if they come here, work hard. That is what makes this nation great. It doesn't mean about people, hey, give me your scientists, give me your engineers. It says if you work hard, you can be an American.
Okay, so how about we apply that? Okay, then we can roll with that too. So we're not going to measure success or intelligence or anything like that, just hard work. So then you wouldn't be against saying, if you're here as an immigrant, you take no public benefit of any kind. You can't go to an emergency room for health care. You can't, use emergency Medicaid for your health care. You can't take any kind of program at all, right? Because why would we bring people here and then give them free stuff? Would you be for that?
Well, I am for no taxation without representation.
Oh, you're not for that. Oh, you're not for that. Oh, I'm sorry. What about the hard work
They
part?
should be able to get protection. They should be able to get healthcare if they're paying for their own doctor, if they're paying for their own security. I think that's
Now,
fair.
how about this? How about this? Then would it be fair? Would it be fair for the people who own this country, which is its voters, its citizens, to say we're going to do just a really simple cost-benefit analysis on every immigrant? Are you paying in more than you're taking out in services? How about that? And if you're not, you have to leave. Well, think of that.
In 2016, undocumented immigrants contributed $2 trillion to the U.S.
How much
economy.
is that?
Let's be very specific. Hold on, let's be very specific. Hold on, no, slow down. How about in each specific case we say, if you're an immigrant here, really simple, prove that you're producing more than you consume. If you think that's the point, that's the criterion we're going to use, would you be for applying that standard?
I'm for the American people. I'm for Republicans, Democrats coming together.
Oh, you're not for that standard. Okay, so you're not for any standards, are you?
I want to create standards that work for everyone. I want to create standards.
How about standards that work for Americans? Wait, but hold on. It's not for everybody because America doesn't exist to help the populations of other countries. It exists. The government exists for one reason. Let's look out for its own people, its voters. It's a democracy, as you may know. So why wouldn't the American people have a right to say we're only admitting people who can demonstrate they make this country better? Not in some general sense where they're all valedictorians and war heroes, but like in a very specific mathematical sense. What would be wrong with that?
Because this nation is such a great place because we have allowed the poor, the people who were hungry, back there, your ancestors were poor. Your ancestors of your viewers.
Well, you don't know anything about
my ancestors weren't poor and hungry. My ancestors came from the motherfucking Mayflower, man.
The future of this country to be. Listen, for me, I want to make sure that I'm here as an attorney representing veterans. I'm representing military families.
Okay,
Why?
come on.
It's not because
you're
I want to be able
Let's have
to.
a rational conversation. No, hold on. You're capable of
conversation.
you're capable of it. Let me ask you a really simple question. If more immigration always makes the country richer, then why does the state with the most immigration, which is California, keep getting poorer? It now has more poverty than any state. 1 out of 5 Californians is poor. If immigration makes us richer, why is California getting poorer? What's the answer to that, I wonder?
Well, I would just say that California has a surplus of more than $10 billion into the state economy. Why? Because many factors, but because it's a welcoming state. So
wait a second. No, but hold on. California's gotten poorer. 1 in 5 Californians is poor. That was not the case when I grew up in California. It has the most immigration. So if immigration always makes us richer, why is the opposite happening in California? It's a very simple question.
Well, I think there is many factors. I don't think it has to do with immigration. I think it has to do with the fact that we need to manage budgets right, and I think Republicans and Democrats would agree on that. So immigrants is not. It's not.
They have nothing to do with it. Even though California is now poorer than Mississippi, immigration, which is the main thing that separates California from Mississippi, has no role in that because why? Do you have data on that, or you just kind of don't want to admit it like everyone else?
Well, I also don't think that we have data to blame immigrants for every problem of the world.
No, we're giving them credit for every success. We're saying this country is rich because of immigrants. Here's a state with the most immigrants. Why is it the poorest state? I mean, am I being crazy? I think it's a fair question.
Well, I also say that California has a surplus. Right now, the economy is doing very well.
It's still the poorest state
So I could always
out of
also say that
50
immigrants
states.
California is doing great because of immigrants, but there's many factors into play. But I would just say, that, at the end of the day, our nation is about statute of liberty.
That it's the poorest state.
It's about us having an economy.
How about this? Why don't we stop the magical thinking and get real? Because things are changing really fast in this country, and we care about our country. We want it to be the best it can be. And the point is not to make other countries happy; it's to protect our people. So I hope you'll give us a pass on trying to think that through in a rational way.
Let's work together on this.
All right. Caesar, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rich.
Andrew Klavan is a contributing editor at City Journal.
Can't talk to the top, motherfucker.
Well, today the Department of Justice threatened 23 sanctuary cities, counties, and states with subpoenas if they don't turn over certain records. In response, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio and several other city leaders boycotted a scheduled meeting with the president at the White House today. David Campos is an attorney. He's a former member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors.
Oh, look at this cock.
Thank you very much, and I'm here as Deputy County Executive for the County of Santa
Nice
Clara.
bow tie, man.
Great county. Because you have that official role in California, let me ask you this. Your Attorney General, Javier Becerra, announced last week that employers in the state who cooperate with federal immigration authorities will be prosecuted by the state of California, which apparently is now its own country. Will you participate in this? If you find in your county employers collaborating with the U.S. government on immigration law, will you turn them in to the state of California for prosecution?
I think I'm good enough a lawyer to know that before I answer that, I have to look at the specifics of that. What I can tell you
And
is
you
about,
haven't? What are you
County
doing here
Santa
talking
Clara.
then?
We are proud to call ourselves a constitutional county.
What up?
that
Thanks
is
for being
trying to
here.
follow the
Smash
letter
that
and the
thumbs
spirit
up.
of the
It
US
helps with the
Constitution.
algorithm.
And that's why when it comes to immigration, we're very clear that we're here to do the job that is outlined for us by the U.S. Constitution. We actually have sued the Trump administration twice and succeeded in every time, where they have attempted to predicate federal funding to force counties like Santa Clara to be in the business of enforcing immigration law.
Right.
And with all
It's
due
law.
respect, we believe that there is a role for the federal government and there's a role for jurisdictions like Santa
Okay,
Clara.
since you're a lawyer who helps run a big county in the biggest state,
You don't know
answer
law.
this. Is it consistent with readings of the Constitution ratified by the Supreme Court that a state would actively work to undermine federal law? I'll answer for you, no. Actually, no. That's not happened since the Civil War. So what's your take on that as a county official and a lawyer?
Well, I don't think that I should be in the business of telling the state or the federal government how to do their job. Likewise, I don't think that they should tell us how to do our job. I have an order here that was issued.
Oh, but
in the
you should
Northern
tell us how to
District
do
of
our jobs,
California,
though, and
where
how
the
to
federal
live.
district court basically told President Trump and his Department of Justice, with all due respect, sir, you cannot force counties like Santa Clara to do your job. That's
He can
not
do what he
their
wants.
role.
He's president,
But
jackass.
We're arguing parallel. I'm sorry, we're having parallel conversations. I'm not asking about whether you have a duty to do your job. I'm asking you whether you're allowed, as an official in the state of California, to actively undermine federal law and prosecute Californians who follow it. Really simple, and you know that distinction because you're an attorney. And I'm asking you, would you do that if you were ordered by the Attorney General of your state to help prosecute somebody or aid in a prosecution of a California citizen because he followed federal law? Would you participate in that?
Well, look, I don't know the specifics of this program. We would
Yeah, you do.
ultimately follow
Yes,
the
you
U.S.
do.
Constitution.
What
You're
the
a
hell are
state
you doing here
official.
talking then?
We're getting nowhere. I think this is something you should think about, though, because we're moving toward a constitutional crisis really fast, as you know, as a lawyer. Let me ask you this. So you believe, obviously, that having more undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens, whatever, people who aren't legally supposed to be here,
They get away
in
with
your
murder.
county is a good thing. Have you done an economic impact study on immigration in Santa Clara County?
Well, let me first of all tell you, Mr. Carlson, and I thank you for the opportunity. It's a personal issue for me. My parents brought me here undocumented as a child. I was 14. And what I can tell you is that
Should I
when
feel bad
came
for you?
here, it wasn't my choice, but I made a point of trying to be a productive member of society.
I don't want to be rude.
studied
I
hard.
think you've done
I went
great.
to
I'm
Harvard
not
Law
attacking
School
you.
and
I think
Stanford.
that's great. I think it's great. I'm not attacking you personally. I know there are a lot of immigrants like you who are impressive. But there are also 330 million Americans who are already citizens, and I think it's fair to ask, what effect does this have on them? So if you studied the economic effect of immigration on your county, and if you haven't, and I know you haven't, why don't you tell me why you haven't?
Well, actually, we believe that the immigrants that are
You
part of our
believe, but
county
you haven't
are
done
an asset
research.
to our county.
But do
We
you know
actually
that? Have you
believe
studied
that
it? Why wouldn't you study it, and just rather than just guess?
I mean, look, if that immigrants make on a daily basis, whether
I got virtue signaling. I don't need fucking. I don't need hard numbers, Tucker.
Because it looks like it does.
studies have been made that actually jurisdictions that are not in the business of enforcing immigration law are actually safer. And we're
Safer? Oh yeah, you can shoot somebody and get off with it. You can run them over and fucking run. Yeah, yeah.
I get it. And you know what? I could do with a little less moralizing and a little more care to the effect of these policies on actual people based in numbers and social science, which you could do but are choosing not to. So I'm out of time. Thank you.
Bye, Felicia.
Gotcha, bitch.
Tucked motherfucker. Oh, what's that cartoon?
Border Angels, a pro-immigration group, and he joins us. Enrique, thanks for coming on. So I understand that you're for more immigration into the country, but I can't imagine you would support people walking across Mexico and just showing up, expecting to be let in. if that were to happen a lot, we would no longer be a country. So what should we do with these people?
Well, Mexico is not a hostile nation like you mentioned earlier.
Of course
and
it
the
is.
people that are coming from no, of course it isn't. And the fact that these people are coming from Central America is the same thing that's been going on since Reagan interfered in the Central American policies in the late 70s and 80s. These are people that are escaping violence, escaping hunger. They're looking for refuge, and they're trying to come into the country. When you have a Border Patrol spokesman like Chris Harris encouraging them to come, telling them, just show up at the border and say asylum and you're going to get in, that's a lie. That's not the way it works. And it causes these people to flee. They're crossing. They think they're going to be able to get in. Most will not be getting in.
But I'm not really sure why I don't know why you would feel an obligation to defend the government of Mexico, which is abetting illegal immigration into our country, which has been literally for years, which has trained people explicitly with documents that we have on how to get into this country illegally. I don't know why you would be flacking for them. I don't know what's in it for you exactly, but let's stop lying about it. Mexico could stop this right now. Mexico is a very long country. It's a long way from Honduras to Tijuana. They could stop this, but they're not. This is an act of hostility.
The thing is that we allow the freedom of people to be able to travel freely within the country, as a lot of countries do in the world. And I will defend Mexico because you're lying. Why don't you show me a document where the Mexican government is training people, that you just said, to cross into the United States? The Mexican government isn't doing that. Are there people doing that? There may be.
Really? Because they were giving that, you know. I'm sorry. I win with superior knowledge here. The
that's not true. Superior arrogance.
Of course it is.
I know you're
true.
from San Diego, and your racism and ignorance is very well
win,
known.
right? Okay.
Yeah, La Jolla comes
the
today,
Mexican government has given instructions to people. I've seen them with my own eyes on how to get across the border. But the point is, this group of people could be stopped any time by the Mexican government, which again, you feel the need to make apologies for, but they detain people all the time in their country from Central America, as you know. But they're not detaining these people because they say they're going Del Norte. So they're a hostile power. But why should we have to accept anybody who comes here?
Most people aren't coming to the United States. Most undocumented people go elsewhere. They have no desire to come here. Of the 250 million undocumented people in the world today, the United States has 11 million. And that flow has shifted dramatically, dropped 40% in the last 5 years.
But why should we take any? No, but you're missing it. Why should we take any? There are a lot of people who want to come here legally.
Yeah, but there's no way for these people to come in legally. And the United States interfering in these countries, the demand for the drugs, invading a sovereign land like Iraq, or interfering in the civil wars of Central America, that causes people to flee. The U.S. should be more welcoming.
So our sins are the reason this is. So you hate America, is what you're saying. I don't know what. Actually, it's interesting. You're blaming America for illegal immigration into America. People come here.
Part of America. Central America is part of America. Mexico is part of America.
The United States is a separate country. It's not the same as Honduras, actually. One third of all Salvadoran citizens already live in the United States. So at what point can we say we've atoned for our sins in El Salvador?
Stop interfering in the policies of other countries. Stop taking their natural resources. Stop invading sovereign lands. You have a president.
Are we taking the natural resources of Honduras right now?
Remember Donald Trump? I mean, that guy, he's an embarrassment to the world. He says they're coming for DACA. DACA ended in 2000. People had to have been here by 2012. Donald Trump. I'm not asking you your opinions on Trump. I'm not interested. I'm asking you about the policies that
the policies that affect all of us as Americans. And you're saying that Hondurans have a right to come here because we take the natural resources of Honduras somehow? Can you be a lot more specific?
Absolutely. The invasion of the United States of sovereign lands, whether it was the interference in Central America with the Reagan administration.
What do we do to Honduras?
Well, have you heard of Iran-Contra? Have you heard of the fact that the United States is the number one consumer of natural resources from other countries? The number one consumer
in
of
Honduras? So these people are coming here to punish us for bad things we did in Honduras?
No.
Are you representative of people on the left? Is everybody this dumb? What are you talking about?
And when they invade sovereign lands, when they take from sovereign lands, they should be a more welcoming nation, and they are not. But there's no legal way for the people to come in. They're desperate.
Look, I just want to have a rational. I just want to have a rational conversation.
They should be able. Yes,
nobody
we should have one.
All right.
Yeah, okay. We should have a.
Get back to me when you can explain what we did to Honduras to deserve this.
Double kill.
Congressman Vicente Gonzalez is a Democrat representing Texas. He recently toured a border detention facility. He joins us tonight. Congressman, thank you for coming on. You've got a lot of citizens, American citizens, in your district who've been separated involuntarily from their children. One of them is named Alicia Delgado. She was convicted of manslaughter. She says she was defending her son. Self-defense. She's in prison. She's from your district. She's one of your constituents. I don't think she's married. Her son is very young. He has no family. Have you visited him?
Well, I have not even heard of him. Okay, so otherwise I would try to reach out to every child. But this is not. We're talking about a crisis that's happening on the border of hundreds and thousands of kids that are showing up to a border. It's not about just our constituents who get in trouble, who get separated. Most of the folks who are coming across have no prior criminal history. They're coming here because of failed American policy, which actually I'm shocked that we're not talking about how we got here. We're talking about the children at the border.
I'm a little concerned. I'm sorry. You may need to speak a little more slowly. Tell me once again why the concerns of foreign nationals are more important than those of your own constituents. Because we have over 1 million
I'm concerned about
people
my
behind
constituents.
bars in the United States who've been
Every,
separated from their kids.
I'm concerned about every child who needs help, and my constituents particularly. But we're talking about
how many children? But hold on, how many children have you visited? American citizen children separated from their parents by incarceration.
Well, I have because I was a lawyer, so I absolutely.
No, but this year, how many of you, as a congressman, how many have you visited?
That have parents that are in jail.
Yeah, the children. So you highlighted the plight of the children who have been separated. A lot of your constituent citizens have been separated involuntarily from their kids. They're behind bars. I don't think you visited any this year, have you?
I'm talking about children who got here with parents that are not criminals that are being separated. And regardless of political beliefs or immigration policy leaning, regardless of where you are in immigration policy, I think we should all agree that children are sacred and we should take care of them regardless where they come from.
Well, I
and when
agree.
we're talking about the border policy, we should be talking about what got us here, which is failed American policy in 3 Central American countries that I think we should be engaging. And we're talking about the symptom and the result now. We should be engaging those countries and figuring out how we could boost their economy and incentivize them to stay home. So we don't have to continue to put band-aids on the issues
there's some
that
truth
we're
in
doing
that.
today.
I wouldn't blame the United States.
Let's compare apples to apples. I mean, I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd be happy to talk to you about parents that are in jail. But we're talking about kids that are crossing the border with parents. That's a separate conversation. And I'd be happy to engage both.
No. It's the same conversation. It's been going on for hundreds of years. Americans held for crimes are separated from their minor children.
Right.
And not always when they're convicted. People are awaiting trial. And I don't think that you've spent a lot of time worrying about that. And I'm just wondering why, since your job is to represent America.
These people
what have you done about
are usually placed. These people are the kids that you're talking about are placed with family members or foster homes. We don't have the same situation. They're not put in cages in warehouses. That's not the way American children are being treated with parents that have committed criminal activity. We're talking about
so let me ask you the
solution.
solution.
People who are showing up to the border. You want to know the solution to the Central American problem?
But let me ask you specifically what we should do with someone who's coming into this country for the second or third time, and that's a felony, as you know. It's not a misdemeanor; it's a felony, and has a minor child in tow.
That's a different issue. That's a separate issue.
No,
that's a separate issue. And my answer is no.
News story.
My answer is no to that. But children who are coming here for the first time with parents with no prior criminal history, who are being separated for the sole purpose of punishing the parent and deterring others from coming, I think is abusive to children, regardless of what your political
what should we do?
Beliefs on immigration policy are.
I'm not making a political case.
We should find a humane way.
Or what?
No, we should find a humane way to treat them, to keep them as family units, have them attend their hearings, and if we're going to deport them together as a family unit, not separate them. Right now we have parents we have toddlers and babies being ripped from moms and dads who just across the border, and they're getting held in
you
jail.
have that happening in your district too, with people arrested for DUI, but you don't seem that concerned about
children
it at all.
How can we agree with children
it's
being
happening
sent
right now
thousands of miles
to
away?
Americans. Right.
Absolutely.
Why don't you take care of your own people first,
There's
then we
a
can
process.
worry about this. Yeah, you don't.
We actually do.
You're right. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Hillary Clinton recently condemned the policies we've been talking about.
You suck.
High energy. If you think that's the point, that's the criterion we're going to use, would you be for applying that standard?
I'm for the American people. I'm for Republicans, Democrats coming together.
Oh, you're not for that standard. Okay, so you're not
make
for
sure that
any
we're working together
standards,
for a
are
solution.
you?
I want to create standards that work for everyone. I want standards.
How about standards that work for Americans? So if you studied the economic effect of immigration on your county, and if you haven't, and I know you haven't, why don't you tell me why you haven't?
Well, actually, we believe that the immigrants that are part of our county are an asset to our county.
But do you know that? Have you studied it? Why wouldn't you study it, and just rather than just guess?
I mean, look, if you actually look at the contributions that immigrants make on a daily basis, whether it's education, the creation of jobs, businesses,
You treat your medical care the same way? I'm sure this shot works, because it looks like it does.
Studies have been made that actually jurisdictions that are not
From other countries, the number one consumer
In
of illegal
Honduras?
drugs.
So
That
these
causes
people are
problems
coming
in
here
these
to
countries.
punish us for bad things we did in Honduras?
No,
Are you
they're
representative of
they're
people
looking
on the
for
left? Is
security,
everybody
they're
this
looking for-
dumb?
The United
I mean, I'm
States has
serious,
a
like, what are
large
you talking about?
responsibility. And when they invade sovereign lands, when they take from sovereign lands, they should be a more welcoming nation, and they are not.
But
There's no
in
legal way
what
for the
way?
people that come in. They're desperate.
Look,
Look,
I just want to have a rational.
all over the world.
I just want to have a rational conversation.
They should be able. Yes,
Nobody
we
on the
should
left.
have one.
All right.
Not separate them. Right now we have parents we have toddlers and babies being ripped from moms and dads who just across the border, and they're getting held.
Well, you have that happening in your
Kids are
district
thousands of miles
too.
away.
People arrested for DUI, but you don't
how
seem
can
that
we agree
concerned
with
about it
children
at all.
How can we agree with children
It's
being
happening
sent
right
thousands of miles
now
away?
to Americans.
Hey, I'm
Right. Why don't you
absolutely
take care of your own
concerned
people
about it.
first?
There's a process.
We actually pretty funny.
Can't touch the tuck, right? Ay, ay, ay.